Ready Wammo breakfast time now is 12 minutes past 8.
You ready for this?
I'm going to walk up to him, look him right in the eyes.
What are you gonna say?
Your daughter is the best thing that has happened to me in my entire life. It would be an honor to have your permission to marry her.
What is wrong with you?
You went from enlisted to an officer faster than anyone in the history of the United States Navy.
But I have never, ever seen a man waste himself better than you.
Battleship is the first film we're looking at today with Lena Lamont's Battleship. What do you think?
Good morning, Wammo.
What is it, first of all, I suppose?
Well,
good morning.
Interesting that in the trailer there, Liam Neeson's heard saying, I just missed the line. What did he just said something like, I've never met a man to ruin things as much as you can, or whatever he just said. That is how I feel about the director, Peter Berg. What will it take for you to make this an even worse film?
Now, when I think Battleship, I think, that classic game.
You think F7 to 9-4.
Oh, you sunk my battleship.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, clearly they're going now. We're done with fairy tales, maybe. We're going to look at board games. I can't wait for the Monopoly movie. Yeah. But, in fact, the Monopoly movie could be really exciting with all the stuff that's going on with the GFC and everything.
The game of life, obviously.
Right, absolutely. But let's take it back. Battleship, right? Very straightforward sort of, a tricky game to play, but a straightforward premise. So a straightforward premise for a film.
Play, come on.
Well, it's kind of it's a game of chance, right? It's a game of chance. Okay. I was trying to think that it's meant to be a strategy game, right? So they decided to make a movie out of it. Okay, well, people like big ships, gunships, guns, battles, baddies, goodies, fighting.
Yeah.
We've got the premise there for a bit of a movie, I guess. And basically what I just described is pretty much the extent of this film.
Come on, now, how is this translated on the screen? Come on.
Taylor Kitsch is the name of the film star who starred in John Carter. Did you go to John Carter?
Not yet.
Okay, well, you may know that John Carter has not been critically acclaimed, but it has been doing incredibly well in the box office. Now, the way I see it is they cast this film, presumably before John Carter had quite been released, and they didn't therefore know how well it was going to do or otherwise. Taylor Kitsch is now the lead in this film. He's kind of a badass guy whose brother, the wonderful Alexander Skarsgård from True Blood, his brother has said to him, you need to get yourself together. You're coming into the Navy with me. So fast forward, it actually looks like you fast forward only a couple of months for naval training, and all of a sudden he's like a lieutenant colonel something or other.
Goes through boot camp.
Right, whatever it happens, he's up those ranks, and so he's in the Navy. And there's this naval exercise around the waters in Hawaii between the Japanese and the American, who, for old time's sake, I guess, are getting together to kind of not exactly recreate those battles, obviously, from Pearl Harbor and all the terrible times, but to do a fun, goodwill kind of naval exercise. But before the naval exercise can even kind of take off, aliens land from space.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to fight the aliens instead of the Japanese.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and then there's just quite a lot of big ships.
But this is in modern times.
Oh, yes, this is very modern times. Some might even say this is nowadays. This is contemporary. It's a contemporary film, right?
Yeah.
So the aliens are very contemporary as well. Inexplicably come down and decide to start firing and shooting and destroying the Earth.
Do we know what the aliens want?
No, well, look, I actually can't remember, and I'm not sure, and it definitely doesn't matter, because that's not what this is about. This is about Taylor Kitsch being able to prove that he can go from being bottom-of-the-rung kind of dropkick guy who wants to marry the naval commander's daughter. I wonder if he has to prove himself here.
Just to get slightly geeky on the whole, Navy with guns and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't use the big...
This is
big cannon guns anymore.
Well, actually, no, you're quite right. Okay,
because they set off cruise missiles, don't they?
Okay. So that's more what's happening. Okay, I apologise. You are being a geek about it, but you're right to pull me up on this.
That's why it kind of looks like a World War II sort of scenario.
Yeah. One thing I did learn right at the beginning of this film, helpfully, is that they are driving, riding, sailing, whatever, destroyers, not battleships. Destroyers go out there and destroy. Battleships,
stuff.
Apparently, traditionally, are kind of bulked up to withstand hits. There's a nice little twist towards the end that does actually involve the battleship, but I don't want to ruin that part of the film if people are still going to go see it. And let's be honest, people probably will still go see this. It has all the hallmarks
Oh, no
of
doubt. It'll be
the
number one at the box
Transformers.
office.
I
Yeah.
know, right? And so it's got kind of a slightly handsome, really deeply terrible dialogue and absolutely nothing good about the story or the lines. Kind of a handsome kind of dude who's got a kind of a blonde fiancée. There's the little bit of conflict because the naval commander is her father. I tell you another draw card, actually, is that Rihanna is in this. And Rihanna is one of the best things in this film.
Right.
You may have heard of Rihanna.
Yeah,
She's a pop
I think
star.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Something about undies.
Not in this film.
Oh, okay.
She's terrific. She plays one of the officers who's, typically kind of gutsy.
Yeah.
And there's a fabulous debut performance for a New Zealand actor called John Toohey. And John was in, like, Sione's Wedding, Power Rangers is what he filmed in this country, and therefore, managed to hone an excellent American accent. And he's the big, burly, kind of straight-talking guy. He's fabulous.
And for some reason, New Zealand has this 6 weeks ahead of the States.
Yeah, yes. So that's exciting. It's been released today.
That's real exciting.
I think we're ahead of Australia, and we're definitely ahead of the United States.
So, less Battleship, more Battleship.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of how I feel about it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. On to the next one then. Here we go.
There's only two moments in a man's life. One's when he leaves home, and the other one's when he returns.
His name was Butch Cassidy. We're looking at Blackthorn. Is this a retelling of an old classic tale?
It's a reimagining of how things might have gone if they'd ended differently. So any viewers who have seen the original Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid movie with Robert Redford and
Classic. Great film.
Steve McQueen back in the good old days, spoiler alert, allegedly Butch Cassidy and the Kid died at the end of the film. This film, Blackthorn, reimagines that in fact in 1908 Butch Cassidy didn't die, and he set up a little life for himself in Bolivia under the assumed name of James Blackthorn, and he's just getting on with living his life as the gringo amongst the locals, speaking excellent Spanish, and deciding one last time, because of course he's eschewed all nature of criminal activity in the intervening years. We're now in kind of the 1920s in South America. He decides to make one last trip to his homeland of the United States.
Yeah.
And inevitably sort of falls in with this young guy, this young robber called Eduardo Apodaca, who's played by a gorgeous young man called Eduardo Noriega, who kind of tags along with the old-timer who's like, I don't want anything to do with you, just let me get on with my journey, my life sort of thing. Inevitably a relationship is built, and they're on the run from baddies. So it's typical, straightforward Western fare.
Isn't this great? Unlike, say, World War II genre, which I think has generally fallen out of favour now. It had a good sort of 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Westerns just carry on, don't they? People love Westerns.
They keep coming back. I mean, I felt
True
that
Grit was probably the last one. It was a remake.
I forgot about True Grit. I was saying to someone yesterday that, we kind of went through a period only 3 or so years ago when all of a sudden there was No Country for Old Men,
Yeah.
which was the Coens' first Western before True Grit. No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood. Prior to that, there'd been what I thought was the wonderful The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford with the Brad Pitt movie that I loved, that some people didn't. I thought it was beautiful. There was a resurgence of Westerns, and then you're right, and then they go, and now they're coming back. And Tarantino is apparently making a Western as we speak. So every now and then, it's such a staple genre, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say you can't make a bad Western, but because it's so straightforward, I suppose it gives you the opportunity to really focus on other things and to really focus on the tone of the film, certainly the cinematography and the look of it and the style and the performances.
And is it, does it have the grit, as it were, of the newer Westerns as well?
The Blackthorn? What do you mean by the grit of the new ones?
More realism, I suppose. You know how the Westerns in the 60s and 70s...
Oh, I see what you mean. Spaghetti Westerns were very kind of... they were very like stagey, right?
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. You're
Yeah.
so right. This is much more realistic. You're absolutely right. This is as if this could have been absolutely how life was for him in 1920. Him being Blackthorn, i.e. Butch Cassidy.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
The Deadwood, the TV series,
That's right.
really set the benchmark, I suppose, for more modern times.
Exactly, for making it much more realistic. The stories are realistic, the dialogue between the characters, you're right, rather than going to see you at dawn,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you're right. There isn't any of
Yeah.
that cliche in this.
The John Wayne sort of,
Exactly, this is not spaghetti western John Wayne kind of material at all.
Good.
Yeah, this is lovely. Yeah, Blackthorn is highly worth seeing. A little bit subtitled, but it's a beautiful looking film. It's incredibly subtle and highly recommended.
Blackthorn and Battleship is the other film we looked at as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lena. The film reviews, of course, in the Sunday Star Times and lenalamont.wordpress.com. See you next time.
There are times when you'd prefer to be dead. Don't you agree?
You were dead. Now you have it all. Your name, your life. You're a damn legend. And here you are. Here you are.
Here I am,